So I'm just going to show you 1 minute of this video from Mr. Custodian Files, where one of these dragons starts up here, comes down in, and circles around, kind of circles the plane a little bit. Then one of them comes from up here and circles around and kind of circles the plane a little bit. And then you'll see, while that's happening, a couple more appearing over here.
So when you see aircraft, the aircraft are the bait. Turn on your phone. If you have an Earth drone, if you could fly it, look at that. I think he came perhaps behind the airliner on that one. Just phenomenal. Non-ballistic in other words, when they zigzag and they do not go straight. Non-ballistic. Again, very predictable behavior. Sometimes they pay a lot of attention to some aircraft more than they should. So the question comes up is, what was that aircraft? Who was on it? What's going on? It just over and over. You'll find this to be very repeatable. It gets easier and easier. It gets to the point. You'll be just walking to your car. You'll hear a helicopter. You pull out your phone. You record it. You shut your phone off, put it back in your pocket, you look at it later, you got a dragon. This is how predictable these all are, over and over, repeatedly. And again, when you do get good dragon video, if you can share with me, I'll share with others, custodianfile at gmail. Okay, I think that will do it for now. This is Robert at Custodian File. I appreciate you watching. Please subscribe, comment, leave questions. I'll do my best to answer them. Take care. Bye-bye.
This is a video produced by Latchkey Hustle the other day. It's only a 2-minute video showing a bridge that collapsed. I think it's in Vietnam, and this happened just a few days ago, and he shows you what he was able to capture in the video.
On September 9th in Vietnam, there's weather that bridge, it collapsed, and I was watching the footage of it, and I thought I saw something, so I screen recorded it and scrubbed through it to confirm that I actually saw what I thought I saw, and I did. This is it. This thing came swooping in at a high rate of speed. Sometimes it's horizontal, sometimes it's vertical. And yeah, and then here you see that one shot, and then it goes down past the street into the water. Here it is. Here it is a couple more times in real speed. Just focus on the left lamppost. And I feel confident when I say it went down into the water, because I feel like if it didn't, you would have seen it with the street as a backdrop to it. This is a very sad situation, and I have no idea what to make of the fact that this thing just arrived on scene like this. But this is a good example of what I was recently describing to you guys when I said that I watch things and then I see things, and then I just record it and go through it slowly, because this stuff seems to just jump off the screen to me. And obviously I wasn't looking for this. This isn't an aircraft or anything, but it was kind of hard to miss. So I wanted to share it with you.
And before we leave, I just wanted to check out this comment on that video that we just watched by Latchkey Hustle, where someone says, maybe it saved the driver that didn't know how to swim. Latchkey says, very well could be. Someone else said, especially since it came in after the collapse. Someone else said, hi, I pray this is the case. I saw the video of the driver that was amazed that he survived, since he didn't know how to swim. Someone else said, yeah, that's great to hear. Divine intervention exists. That's for sure. On several occasions, I've been miraculously spared from great harm in my own life. So yes, Thank you for sharing that. Latchkey finishes it off by saying the whole thing is just super fascinating all around. We don't have the answers yet, but I have the sense that we will get them at some point. Thank you all for sharing your thoughts and experiences. So this rescue dragon that came to the rescue, and the driver of the vehicle, this person said they saw the video of the driver, who was amazed that he survived since he doesn't know how to swim. This is great PR for the disclosure process. Couple more videos like this where it's dragon to the rescue. And like the song says with Jim Morrison, can you picture what will be so limitless and free when you're desperately in need of some stranger's hand? In a desperate land, this person that just fell off the bridge, they were desperately in need of some stranger's hand, and they don't know how they survived because they don't know how to swim. Just keep that in mind. In his recent videos, Mr. MB3 has finally started showcasing some of these things that I called cruisers. I know a lot of you have noticed them too, like slow-moving stars that aren't just satellites, and they're not just reflecting sunlight. So here he's going to show you a couple of unique versions of this. One, where they're traveling in pairs. Two, where one of them turns, and I've never seen one turn, but it turns its direction in the sky and aligns itself with a secondary one, so they now travel as a pair. And a third example where he shows you one of them change its speed, where they're traveling at two different speeds and one of them catches up to the other one, and then they match one another's speed and travel at the same speed as a pair. These are very unique captures. Let's check it out.
Cloud there moving in front of that bright star. It could be a planet. Here we've got more objects, high-speed objects moving through the nighttime sky. You're going to see a tandem, and the tandem is right there. See that? I'm going to slow it down. Let me back that up. I want to show it again right there. There's two objects that appear to be the same size, and they're traveling together, moving at about the same speed at a very high altitude in the nighttime sky. This shows up again above Scotland multiple times. Wow, do you see how fast that thing was going? Here's a slowed down version of the same object above Montana. This is sped up a little bit. That was in fast forward, but either way, very cool video footage out of Montana. Going from Montana over to Scotland into UFO. Videos are from various dates, but they all have one common denominator. They keep noticing these tandem lights moving through the nighttime sky together above Scotland, just like we saw above Montana. They appear to be about the same size, about the same distance apart. What are these things? This video is from September 11th of 2024, and this is just the first of multiple sightings of these dual objects in the sky that are moving together at, again, the same speed, about the same size. They don't have any blinking lights on them. They weren't making any noise. This is an independent object right here moving through the sky above Scotland. See it right there? One going to the left, one going to the right. Those were moving independently, definitely not moving together like the other ones. And this one now makes a right-hand turn and is coming over towards this object in the nighttime sky. So again, highly unusual activity, stuff you just don't see very often unless you're paying attention to the nighttime skies like these folks are. Here's an object here that veers across the screen from right to left. It seems to join up with this one right here. Watch, you're going to see it come across the screen very quickly, almost as if it's under intelligent control. Right there, see it? And it kind of teams up with that one. That one seems to be slowing down, waiting on it, and then they both take off together, moving as a tandem. Yet again, another tandem of lights in the nighttime sky. This was from March 27th of 2024. Here's 24. Here's yet another example. August 30th of 2024. Same scenario. See the lights moving through the nighttime sky together? What are these things? And they're being seen in both hemispheres. We just saw an example up in Montana of what appeared to be these same dual lights moving through the nighttime sky above Montana, visible multiple times from over here in Scotland. by Indie UFO. Great video footage, guys. Thanks for sharing. You guys are wide awake and on the ball.
So here he's going to show something that I have seen a bunch of times. You're going to see one that goes across. Maybe it's going to let me use my pencil, maybe not. It's because it's drawing black on black, so you can't see. There's my pencil mark. You're going to see one going across right here, and he doesn't point it out very well, but it's blinking slowly. It turns slowly on and slowly off. And he does mention it, but by scrubbing back and forth and putting it in high speed and then slow motion and shit, it's almost like he's trying to obscure it. Pay no attention to his cursor. He likes to insert his cursor as part of the presentation, and talking with your hands, he talks with his cursor. It's annoying as hell, I get it. Pay no attention to that. Watch the one going from right to left across the top. The first time he shows it, but is when you can see it the best, that it's flashing. It's brightening up and slowly dimming down, and then brightening back up and then dimming back down.
Video footage sent in by Linda Miller from September 3rd into the 4th of some mysterious objects, very high altitude mysterious objects flying through the nighttime sky at an incredibly high rate of speed. Watch over here on the right. You're going to see a high speed object up there. There's a slower one moving down here. This one appears to be at a very high altitude. And not only is there one,
I'm just going to turn him down a minute so he doesn't distract you. Just watch the one going from right to left across the top of the screen. It disappeared now. You'll watch it reappear right there. There. It's bright. And it'll slowly disappear. And now it's gone. And then it comes back on. And there it dimmed back out. And now you see it coming back into view. And it disappeared again. See, and now he actually points it out. He puts it in fast forward and slow motion, which does enable you to see it if he would just drag it clear across the screen instead of halfway and quarter way at different speeds. But as you can see, when he does that, if he would do it at a steady speed rather than jerking it back and forth across the screen, it's almost like that's the one. You can see it blinking in and out, brightening and dimming. This is something I've seen very often. It proves they are not just satellites reflecting sunlight. And oftentimes they demonstrate a conscious connection with the observer and use it something like Morse code. Here he's going to show you some video from an observatory, but this is not from a
Subaru telescope by Christian from September 9th of 2024. Watch up here in the upper right-hand corner of the screen. You're going to see objects appear basically out of nowhere and travel across the screen from right to left. You're going to see objects travel from up to down, left to right, diagonally. You're going to see objects all over the place. But as I mentioned earlier in the previous video, sometimes you don't even notice these objects until you put the video in fast forward. But notice the objects entering the field of view. There appears to be a fleet of white orbs entering the field of view, visible from this telescope, which is on the big island of Hawaii. I'm going to step it fast forward so you can see just how many things there were in the field of view. There's a slow one right here that drops straight vertical from top to bottom through the nighttime sky very, very slowly. You can see one right here moving at an angle. There's another one coming from left to right here, moving at an angle, but you almost don't notice it until you put it in fast forward. This night, the sky was full of objects visible from the Subaru telescope on the big island of Hawaii. And did you see this one right here? You almost don't notice it because it's moving too slow. There's an object that drops from the top to the bottom. Right there it is. I'll let it play at original speed. What in the world was that thing? In fact, what in the world were all of these things? Yet another example of the sky full of high altitude, very bright, high-speed objects of unknown origins.
So what he's showing you right here is not from a telescope, but from a regular camera. So you can see these things in the nighttime sky with your naked eye. My camera doesn't work well enough to record them. The slower moving ones, like you said, you almost don't notice them unless you put it in fast forward. That's how most of them are. A very slow moving star cruising through the sky. And people once upon a time would always just say, well, that's a satellite. Some move faster than others. What if these things are the same thing as the UAP dragons that move at 2,000 miles an hour? I've seen many a thing shoot over my head that look a lot like a shooting star, but when you know about the UAP dragons, it actually looks a lot more like one of those things. Instead of moving clear up in the sky, it's only about 500 feet above your head, and it turns on a bright light, moving 2,000 miles an hour, turning on a bright light for a half a second, looks a lot like a shooting star. But once you've seen enough of them, you know that wasn't clear up there. That was 500 feet above my head. And it moved quickly enough that if it would have left the light on for 2 seconds rather than a half a second, it would have cleared the whole field of view from one horizon to another because it's only 500 feet overhead. There's a guy out there named Chris Bledsoe, B-L-E-D-S-O-E, and he demonstrates an ability to communicate with these orbs. Right here, they're all over. In this area up here, they're moving in all directions. But Mr. MB3 kind of distracts you with his cursor, and maybe I'm distracting a little bit too. So just look at how many there are moving in all different directions in that upper right corner. Right there. They're all over, moving in all directions. Some nights there's more than others. Some nights I won't see but one or two. Other nights I'll see 20 of them in the first half hour or hour of walking around looking at the sky. Look at all of them cruising. So this Chris Bledsoe guy, he communicates with them and can even summon them and demonstrate the ability to summon them. So there's a large combination of things that are entering into the equation of our perception of reality right now, like the UAP dragons that are only an inch to 10 inches, moving at about 2,000 miles an hour, to the cruisers in the sky that are turning their lights on and off and up and down like they're trying to get our attention. Similar to the UAP dragons that are flying in every one of our air shows like they're trying to get our attention. Zipping in front of the pilots, even tapping on the pilot's window. I covered a news story a while back where they actually hit the canopy of the fighter jet, like tapping on the glass to get your attention, doing circles around you. And these things are meant to get our attention. That's why we are being given these exposures to the incremental increase of exposure in order to transition us, because it is going to be such a shock to the conscience that this gradual incremental increase of exposure to our awareness is demonstrating that they have a care and a concern for our well-being and do not want to shock our minds and throw us into shock. But that's what's going to happen very soon, because those who have not come along for the ride and are narrowing their field of view more and more, everything that enters into their field of view that doesn't fit into their preconceived ideas and their cosmology and their paradigm, they just block it out. And then something else comes into their field of view and they block that out. And then something else and they block that out. And pretty soon they're looking in the rear view mirror saying, no, everything's just like it's always been. Look. And they've narrowed their aperture down to looking at the rear view mirror, while the rest of us are looking out the windshield and the side windows going, no, look all around us. This shit ain't, we're not in Kansas anymore. And the normies besides you are just going, no, it's all the same way as it's always been. Look right here. And they're looking in the rear view mirror. They've narrowed their aperture and their field of view down to something so small in order to maintain their perception of reality as it always has been, that they're going to need to get shocked. And it's going to be better for everyone that it is a hard and fast shock and awe campaign. Because like a wild animal, once they finally accept that they're in a cage, fear is only a prospective feeling. You can only fear what might happen or what's about to happen. You can't fear that which has already happened. So once people are put in a position where they know your livestock and the farmer has total control, they will stop thrashing and rebelling and retaliating and thinking that there's some sort of option for them to gather their beans, bullets, and bandages and make a stand in their bunker. Their cage is going to get rattled so hard, it's going to be a hard and fast takeover of communications and a neutralizing of all powers like military powers. And the day of revelation and disclosure, all governments, religions, and economies come to a grinding halt instantly. And everything that people invested in that thought was the only thing worth investing in is suddenly worth nothing. This is coming. The gradual, incremental, increased exposure proves that they didn't want to do the hard shock and awe. They wanted to do this the softer, gentler, easier way. And people around us who haven't noticed and refuse to notice are the living proof that not everyone's going to be able to take the softer, gentler, easier route. They're going to require their cage to get rattled so hard that it causes them to go into a catatonic state of total dysfunction, drooling curled up in a fetal position because everything they held so dear just disappeared without a trace. Because they refused to participate in reality as it was happening and called the rest of us tinfoil hatters. Insults and derogatory treatment, belittling, degrading, insulting, humiliating you, because truth goes through 3 stages. First, it's laughed at and mocked and ridiculed. You tinfoil hat dummies. Then it's vehemently opposed. Shut the hell up. Nothing's changed. Everything's the way it was. And then third, it's accepted as if it's always been that way and everyone's always known that to be true. Chemtrails, being 25 years old, have hit that 3rd stage. But there's a lot that people are about to get shocked into perceiving. They're going to lose the freedom to believe what they want to believe and disbelieve whatever they choose to disbelieve. They're going to lose the freedom to pay attention to what they want to pay attention to and choose to not pay attention to things they don't want to pay attention to. They are going to be forced to reckon with the reality that some of us have been trying to point out to them for a long time. The softer, gentler, easier way is just about over. That's why the incremental, increased exposure experiences are accelerating, but we are quickly coming to the point where full and open disclosure is going to happen, and it will seem like a hostile takeover of all lines of communication, neutralization of all powers, like military powers and police powers. And everyone comes to a grinding halt. No one has anything on their to-do list. Your whole calendar gets scrubbed. You have nothing left to go about your day doing. Nothing. No going to work. No paying the bills. You will come to a complete halt. Be still and know that I am God, is good advice on that day.
Hey folks. Well, thanks again for joining us. So this presentation has a few different things going on. There's some helicopter things from here in LA. There's some stuff from Belfast and some stuff that I found online. And one thing from the mid 70s, which, you know, is pretty cool to get older footage with something that's pretty interesting in it. And then also the last presentation I did pertained to the bridge collapse in Vietnam from September 9th of this year. And so, you know, it's not rocket science, it's just basic logic to go and see what you find with other similar scenarios, other bridge collapses and things like that. So there's, I did a little research and found some things, so I'm sharing those as well. So hope you enjoy it. And like I always say, please comment and share these presentations with other people you think might enjoy them or have some input. And we'll talk to you on the other side. Thank you. All right, so this is from MB in Belfast. Thanks, MB. This is pretty cool. Yeah, it's goes from the bottom right to the top left, and it seems to kind of change presentation periodically. This is what I mean by this. I'm pausing it right here. In the bottom right, it's dark. And then it hops like one frame and it's still dark, but a little lighter. And then it moves through and it's not dark anymore. And here we pause it again in the top left corner. It's not dark, but it's not super light either. It's sort of in between. So yeah, I don't know what this is, but it seems like MB has some interesting stuff going on in the sky in Belfast. So thanks for sharing this. All right, so I have no clue what this is. Maybe it's prosaic, maybe it isn't. The reason I'm including it though, and the reason I like it is because it's smaller on the way down and bigger on the way up, which kind of presents itself in my mind as sort of a corkscrew motion, which I think is kind of cool. So I was watching this video on the YouTube channel Universe Inside You, and it was about suppressed technologies, and this was about fuel sources for automobiles, and I saw this. So this is clearly old footage. I'm trusting that it was from 1977, but either way, this thing comes up from the bottom left and then makes an impossibly fast, hard turn left, which seems to basically just be at odds with physics, but yeah. There's not a tremendous amount to say about this. It's cool looking, and I don't know what to make of it, but yeah. This is an interesting one because this thing is basically hovering in space and it has no means of propulsion or any basis for maintaining altitude, in my opinion. And I'm saying it's hovering because compare its location to the cloud right there, and then let it roll, and then pause it again here, and look, it's still at the same place in the cloud. And that's why I say it's hovering. And I could see how somebody might say, oh, that's a balloon. But the problem is, I've captured so many of these. There aren't just black balloons hovering in Los Angeles and then, just chilling near helicopters like this. All right, so we're transitioning now to this whole like bridge situation, and you might recognize this footage from something I featured in the last presentation. So yeah, so that's a reminder. Now check this out. This is a controlled demolition, and this thing is supposed to fall down to our right, but there's a problem. It starts to fall down to the right, but then eventually goes the opposite direction. And the footage we're going to focus on is in the sky above those white structures to the left. So more specifically, you see the cranes above those structures, and then you see that cloud above the cranes, and that's where we're going to focus. So something starts moving here from right to left, and we're going to pause it right here. Looks similar to what MB sent, right? And then it flutters off to the left off screen. And this is it a little more closely. Can't really tell what it is, but it's certainly something moving from right to left. And I can understand someone saying it's debris, maybe. I don't know. Maybe it is. I mean, in my view, it doesn't move like debris, but whatever. It gets more interesting, though. Check this out. Right after that happens, this pops up kind of from left to right, is what it looks like, but it goes so quickly it's tough to see, and you'll see it in real time. But yeah, that thing shoots by, and then all of a sudden, all of this pops up at once. And I don't know what to make of it, but here it is in real speed. And then this happens, as if that wasn't weird enough. All of these things just appear and then sort of float and then disappear. And here that is closer. Yeah, I don't know, it's a weird one. But as these things disappear, watch how this plays out. This thing on the left sort of just turns into an orb, sort of ish, and then look at how it leaves. It decides to like split up into a few things before it departs. So at the beginning of the discussion of this capture, I said we're going to focus on the left side in the sky. That wasn't entirely true. Look at this. See this orb? Look where this orb is. Now, knowing that that's there, you should go back and check out this capture, and you'll see that this thing just hovers up there for a while and then does its own little thing. Yeah. Okay, so here's another bridge collapse. Now, this footage is obviously in slow motion, and it pans left, and I kind of just chopped what's over there because it's just people. And then the footage pans back to the right, and what it captures when it's panning back to the right is the focus of this right here. Yeah, so whatever this thing is, like, does this Z-shaped route at this ridiculous rate of speed, and just like how you change direction that quickly is beyond me. I don't know. It's just mind-boggling to me, the speed and the performance ability. And obviously, this isn't even addressing the question of why is this here at a bridge collapse. So this is a still image of another, structural issue with the bridge, and we're going to focus again on the top left as it happens. It looks like there's some buoys in the water, and there's a dark one near the column on the top left, and that's where we're going to be focusing. So there's the dark object in the water, and then these show up. I mean, hey, maybe these are just camera artifacts, but what are the odds of these camera artifacts just popping in and out at these bridge collapses and these other calamities? Something else I want to point out before we move on is look at that column on the left. Something is there too. So the last thing I want to focus on with this is this primary, larger object here that comes into frame. And what I noticed about this is this sort of notch toward the left side of it. And I felt like it looked similar to this, which also has a notch on the left side of it. And this is from a capture from a SpaceX camera in space. And when I showed this, I commented then about that notch. And that's what the close-up was. And I compared it to the Kumberger's UFO still, which is right there. And now that thing looks very similar to this, which is a still from this most recent bridge collapse footage. Obviously, I'm not saying they're the same thing, but I'm just sharing my observation that they seem to be very similar looking. All right, so we're going to wrap up the presentation with this because it's interesting and it's a little lighter than bridge collapses. You see that thing on the left. And what's interesting about this is an example of rotor speed and frame rate matching up. Look at this. Now, if you go through and scrub, you'll see that that black thing toward the left is in multiple frames. It definitely is moving very fast and buzzing this helicopter. But to me, the bigger story with this footage is, the frame rate, rotor speed alignment, because you don't see that very often. It's pretty cool. All right, folks. Well, there you have it. Yeah, hope you enjoyed it. It was a little bit of a different one, right? So, two things. First, I don't know what to make of, these anomalies surrounding tragedies and calamities. I mean, I don't know. But I just have trouble thinking that it's coincidental. Or the alternative would be is that they're everywhere all the time, and that's possible. And that actually leads me to my second thought, which is that why are we able to see these things now? I don't personally think that these things are just arriving. I think it's a confluence of two factors. The first is that our technology has gotten to the point where it's allowing us to see things that we couldn't previously, much like a microscope allows us to see the microbial world that we didn't know existed previously. That's the first factor. I believe the second factor is the fact that the eyes tend not to see what the mind doesn't know. And what I'm saying when I say that is that if you have a mental awareness or openness to something being in existence, when you do see it, it will register with you. On the other hand, if you're closed off or you're unaware of something mentally, your eyes might see it, but it just may not mentally register with you. And so, like, if you go on a hike, you take a trail, and it's new to you, and the environment's new to you, and you see a sign that says beware of rattlesnakes, now that's in your mental awareness. And then when you happen to see one, you'll probably be better able to spot it because you're mentally aware of it, of the potential or the possibility, versus a trail that has no signage at all. Your eyes might be less likely to register the rattlesnake. So that's kind of what I mean by that. And so I think the confluence of our technology and then a mental awareness of the potential kind of coalesce to allow us to see these things more often than we used to, at least for me. So anyway, hope you enjoyed this presentation. And like I always say, feel free to comment so we can keep the dialogue going and share these presentations with other people you think might enjoy them or have some input. And we'll see you on the next one. Thank you.
I'll leave the link to Latchkey Hustle's channel. It looks like he's only got 436 subscribers, but that last video got 394 views. That means all of the people. He has the highest percentage of viewership that I've ever seen. I bought this painting the other day when I was walking through Park City. And like Latchkey Hustle was talking about, once you have perceptual awareness of something, then you have the ability to see it that you can only see what the mind already perceives. And what I see here is that this owl is sitting on a plasma-fired tree. Each one of these holes, this hole right here, is where a branch once stuck out of the tree. This hole right here is where a branch once stuck out of the tree. And what you're seeing right there is the inside of the tree that's charcoaled, with a few spots that are unburned, like over here on the edge of the wood. That's where the curvature of the bark wraps back around. Or over here, on the bottom right-hand side. That owl is sitting on a plasma-fired tree. Zero doubt about it, but most people wouldn't see it. Again, bottom left, there's another piece of the unburned part of the tree. But most people wouldn't see it. So, Latchkey Hustle has a very calm demeanor and a way of showing and telling, and my point is probably the same as his, to get you to lose your grip on reality as you think you know it, in order that you can grasp reality as it's being presented to us. Because so long as you have something in your hand that you're holding on to, you cannot use that hand to grab onto something else. First, you have to let go of that which you're holding on to in order to grab onto something else. You have to lose your grip on reality in order to grasp what is being presented to us. And most people are willing to cling to their preconceived ideas till their dying breath, and so be it. Their hearts will fail them for fear. The rest of us are being given the opportunity through these increased exposure experiences to expand your perception of an awareness. And plasma fire is a good example of that. Plasma fire shows you how dense people are, how willing they are to ignore reality and cling to their preconceived ideas, where trees can't burn from the inside. You need oxygen for a flame to burn, so there's no way that that could even possibly happen, even though it's happening all around them. Plasma fire is a good demonstration of the psychological phenomenon of people's capacity for denial and delusion and self-deception. They live in a fantasy world that no longer exists, a world where trees don't burn from the inside, even though it's happening all around them. And we're in for an informational sonic boom. People have been trying to outrun the truth, like a plane that goes faster than the speed of sound and then slows down back beneath the speed of sound. All that sound behind it catches up in one big sonic boom. So it is with the people around us who have been trying to outrun the truth, so busy going about their day. And every day you just go, baby, don't go. And don't you worry, we love you more than you know. That informational sonic boom is about to catch up to us, and plasma fire gives you a pretty good indicator of how capable people are of not perceiving what they don't already believe in, even though it's right in front of you, all around us. They can't perceive the trees are burning inside, even though it's happening all around us, because they don't already believe in it. They don't already conceive of it. The eyes can only see what the mind can conceive of. Plasma fire is a good example of that and demonstrates this psychological phenomenon or disorder within the psyche of people in general. Multiply that by 100,000 of all the other things that we generally can't see because we don't believe in. And that's what I believe we're about to get exposed to. And the shock is going to be detrimental. If you can go along a little bit at a time, incrementally increased exposure experiences, then you can transition between worlds. The world that we've always known and the world that we're about to know. But if you have it happen to you all at once, it shatters your psyche. And that is also part of the reason for the shock and awe that's about to happen, is for the purpose of shattering people's psyche. They've proven that if you try and do it a little bit here and there, incrementally increase their exposure to these pieces of reality, that they will incrementally close off their perception in order to keep their grip on the reality they've always known. And once a person is thrown into shock, they call it the dark night of the soul, or a near-death experience. And that causes a person, or ego death, where their ego dies. Your ego is your self-image and your worldview. And once you have that ego death and you let go of who you think you are, only then can you become made aware of who you really are. Once you let go of your ego, which is attached to your paradigm and your cosmology, your self-image and your worldview, all of those need to be shattered in order for you to start again at the bottom and build your way up. You break me down, you build me up, believer. I'm a believer. Break me down, build me back up, and do whatever it takes. That breaking down process is something that's going to happen during this collective initiation. David Nino Rodriguez has talked about how his buddy Juan keeps telling him the country needs to have a near-death experience. Well, that's what Greg Braden spoke of more than 20 years ago in his videos Awakening to Zero Point and Beyond Zero Point, the collective initiation. And what we're going through is a collective initiation. During every initiation, the initiate gets broken down and then built back up. First, you have to be broken down. That's what a drill sergeant does to the new recruit in boot camp. Beats you down, mentally, emotionally, physically, psychologically, and shatters you, and then builds you back up as one of us. Now you can become a Marine. Similarly, in a college fraternity, they call it hazing the new pledges during Hell Week, where they break you down and abuse you mentally, emotionally, psychologically, physically. Some people have even died during these hazing experiences, just like people have died during boot camp. And they break you down, and then they build you back up as one of us in this fraternity or this sorority, or the street gang who does the same thing for their initiation. And beats you in if you're a man or sexes you in if you're a woman. And we are going through a collective initiation where we're going to get broken down and then built back up and introduced to a larger society that we can become part of. But first we have to let go of our preconceived ideas of who we think we are. Oh, we're the smartest thing that ever evolved out of the mud. We're all alone. We're the top of the food chain. All of that has to be done away with. And for people who can't come along through these incrementally increased exposure experiences and start to figure it out, they're going to have to get rattled hard. They've shown how hard they're going to have to get rattled by their ability to disregard plasma fire and discount all of these other things that are happening around us and go about their daily lives as if none of that stuff matters. And they can choose to believe whatever they want to believe and disbelieve whatever they want to disbelieve and only pay attention to what they want to pay attention to and choose to not pay attention to anything they don't want to. They have shown you they are going to require a shock and awe to bring them to a grinding halt, to stop them dead in their tracks. Instead of going about their daily life experience, they're going to have to be forced to reckon with this and reconcile with the reality that they would otherwise refuse to acknowledge or accept. And they would therefore hold all of us back in this primitive state of mind and keep us from joining our rightful place in the reality that we are a part of by insisting that we all continue to believe and pretend and play make-believe in the reality that we've always thought we were part of. And this is childhood's end. As in the movie, as in the TV series and the book, where the aliens show up and they float around in our skies for a few years to the point where pretty much everyone knows they're up there. We've been seeing them here and there for a very long time now. And they choose just a regular blue-collar worker guy as an ambassador, as a go-between, as an intermediary to communicate with the people. And then one day he says, you guys just need to show yourselves. Everyone knows you're here. And they're starting to assume the worst. And they're getting scared. You guys just need to come out of the closet and reveal yourselves instead of beating around the bush and communicating through me. And so they do. And when they step off of that ship, they appear just like everything the Christian has been programmed and indoctrinated to fear, with the horns and the hooves and the red skin and the tail and the pitchfork. And that is approximately what's going to happen, because this consciousness farm has been hijacked. This consciousness farm has been hijacked by some cattle rustlers who redirected the growth and development of the consciousness within these cells, within these vessels, in order to serve their own purposes, not for the purpose of creating the greatest amount of happiness for the most amount of people by developing this consciousness in a way that is conducive to that end goal, but instead they redirected the consciousness on this consciousness farm and have programmed them that when you see the holy farmer, the great rancher in the sky, that's the evil gods. Don't go with the first one. I've heard BP Earthwatch say this quite a few times. Don't take the first train out of here. That's the fake god. That's the evil god. That's the embodiment of evil. That's the false Messiah and the Antichrist and everything bad all wrapped up into one. You got to wait for the second set of gods. When the first ones arrive, you need to fight against them tooth and nail with everything you've got. Your eternal salvation requires it. Those cattle rustlers have hijacked this consciousness farm, and just like people that hijack an airplane, they're willing to take the whole thing down and everyone on board before they will relinquish their control over the hearts and minds of the people, the cells within the petri dish of this consciousness farm. And they have effectively programmed them in such a way, in preparatory conditioning, to retaliate and rebel against God and see God as the devil. So these soft-minded people who take a hardline stance on things they don't understand are just weaponized retards that are going to be used as cannon fodder and sent out onto the front lines. And we know that the oldest, most effective form of mind control is groupthink. I've demonstrated and spoken about this many times in the Ash effect, the experiments of the Ash experiments, where even though you see that it's a triangle, if everyone else around the table says that's a square, then you will say, oh yeah, that's a square. And that's at a time when there are no consequences. There is no consequences in those experiments to the person who can see that it's a triangle, but still conforms, denies their own senses, and agrees with the group and says, yeah, you're all right, it's a square. That's in a sterile environment where there is zero consequence. Yet 60% of the time or so, the subject of the study abandons their own senses and joins with the group and says, yeah, whatever you guys say it is, that's what I say it is too. In a circumstance where there are consequences, life and death consequences, that percentage increases to like 99% of people who will abandon their own senses and say, yeah, that lizard-loving reptilian sympathizer thinks the good guy's the bad guy and the script has been flipped and that we've all been brainwashed. He's got the Antichrist spirit in that one. Yeah, let's all go get him. Let's do a good witch hunt. 99% of the people will join the witch hunt. Look, there's an owl, Bohemian Grove, evil. Yeah, he's one of them. These are weaponized retards. who take a hardline stance on things they don't understand because they weren't willing to put in the work. That's why they're still soft-minded. And it's very rare individual who can escape the groupthink. You see, society and individuals have this thing called evolutionary psychology. Very early on, in our more primitive stage, an individual was not capable of surviving outside of the tribe. Lions and tigers and bears would see to it that if you don't have a tribe around you, you do not survive. And so individuals that can think for themselves were bred out of the population. When we were in a more primitive state, in a tribal setting, living in the wilderness. And then society grew and developed to a point where we have an infrastructure where an individual doesn't necessarily need family and friends. There's enough of an infrastructure around us that an individual can survive by getting a job and going to work, and you don't need to have a single friend or family member surrounding you. But it has been bred out of us psychologically to think for ourselves through this evolutionary psychology, survival of the fittest, during the time period where no one survived by thinking for yourself and acting on your own accord. The only way anyone survived was by conforming to the group think and the canonized doctrine of the tribe. So once society has reached a point where an individual can live and survive and even thrive as an individual without surrounding themselves by a tribe where we all agree on the same thing and believe the same thing and act as a group in a hive mind, even though society has grown to the point where it affords an individual this opportunity to go your own way, very few individuals within that society are capable of doing so. It is evolutionary psychology. It's not within their genetic makeup. All of the individuals who think for themselves have been bred out of society during those more primitive years. That's why so few people are capable of escaping that oldest and most effective form of mind control that we call groupthink. That is the primary determining factor of who makes it and who doesn't, who can transition as we walk between worlds and who can't. Who can say, no, I don't think I'm going to fight against anyone or anything who doesn't look like blonde-haired, blue-eyed baby Jesus and say they're all demonic, satanic, interdimensional Luciferians. I think I'm going to judge them by their fruits and interact with them with some sort of compassion. It is a very rare thing indeed, and that ability to escape the groupthink mind control is the main determining factor between those who are eligible and those who are not. Narrow is the path. So narrow that it's single file. You must be willing and able to go it alone, on your own, and think for yourself, and stand upon your personally relevant, personally meaningful set of priorities and principles and standards, understandings of morals and ethics, and not go along with a tribally indoctrinated groupthink when it comes to these things, which is actually just tokenism and virtue signaling. Because you didn't want to put in the effort to develop and establish morality, you took a prescription, like taking the magical Fauci sauce. You took the prescribed solution of these scriptures, and now you don't have to think about morality, or who we are, or where we came from, and how we got here, and where we are. You don't have to think about anything of that. Inject this solution into your psychological bloodstream, and you never have to think about morality ever again. You're covered. John 3:16, all you got to do is say the magic word, Jesus, Jesus, and you're good to go. And they took the holy vaccine because they didn't want to burn the calories that it took to develop a personally relevant, personally meaningful set of priorities and principles and standards and morals and ethics. And they weren't willing to stand against the groupthink. Well, when the group says something that you know is immoral and unethical, when they say it's a square and you know it's a triangle, are you willing and able to stand for what is true? That is the light of Christ. The original knowing that you had in your heart as a child of right and wrong and good and bad, that you compromised a little bit here and there along the way throughout your life, whether it was because I could just lie a little here and cheat a little here and steal a little there, and no one will know the difference because no one will catch me. And that's what really matters, is whether or not people know of your immorality, not whether or not you actually were immoral. Unless you established a personal scorecard, a personal performance record, where even if no one else notices and no one else will catch me, I know that I violated a policy and the terms and conditions of my own personally relevant, personally meaningful set of morals and ethics. And I prioritize my own closet full of skeletons. Even if no one else knows that skeleton is in there, I will know. And thus, I am not going to put that skeleton in my closet. Because I look at my own performance record. I hold myself to a higher standard of accountability. And it doesn't matter what other people see. I will know that I did that transgression, so I'm not going to do it. Likewise with a charitable act of charity. Even if no one knows, I don't know why it turned sideways. Even if no one knows that I did this good deed, and I don't get any credit for it, and there is no foreseeable personal benefit or gain to myself, I'm going to do it anyway. Even though I'll get no credit from anyone else. And there is no way I'm going to benefit from this, I'm going to do it. For the betterment of someone else, to enhance their life experience, for the greatest amount of happiness for the most amount of people. Most people don't do that. They keep a scorecard and a performance record based on what other people perceive. And they're not willing to do anything good that they don't get credit for from others within the tribe. And they're willing to do just about anything bad as long as they don't get docked for it by other people within the tribe who know about what they did. We're there. The cultivation of consciousness on this consciousness farm is complete. We are in the part of separating the wheat from the chaff, the filtration process, the final harvest, as depicted in Salisbury Hill by Peter Gabriel. You can keep my things, they've come to take me home. And no one gets to go home that didn't do the work while they were here, and instead took the easier path, the path of least resistance. Whatever the tribe said we should do, that's what I did. Those people don't get to go through. They don't graduate Earth School. That's what time it is.